Hey guys, Miss Cologne here. I'm going to go over some of the questions in your workbook. So mind you, because of so many pages I've given you guys, this will be a pretty lengthy video. So this is not due until November 21st. So if you would like to do these in parts, please do so. So the first page I wanted you guys to work on was page 32, which is lesson 3 in your unit 3 workbook. We're going to answer questions 2 and 3. So question 2 says, complete the table. So I know I have to do something. This table needs to be filled out. Use one of the approximate values of pi. Now, I've always told you guys, for the time being, use 3.14. Don't try to use the fraction or the extended version. And then explain or show your reasoning. You don't have to do both, but one of them should suffice. I'm going to show you how to show the reasoning. So, if I have a hula hoop, here's your object. If the diameter is 35, we know there's a relationship between diameter and circumference. We know that if I was to take the diameter and multiply by that magic number, in our case, our magic number is pi, we should get the circumference. So, you should have decimals out, and if I did 35 times 3.14, we should get about 109.9 inches. Okay. Well, what if we have the circumference? Well, the magic number is still 3.14, but we're not going to multiply to get the diameter. So you need to do the opposite, and we're going to divide by 3.14. So take your circumference and divide by 3.14. Now I'm going to round this to about one decimal place. So I got 177.070. I'm going to round this to 177.1. Okay. So, I'm not going to do the other two parts, but follow along. How would you find the circumference if you had the diameter? And then how would you find the diameter if you were given the circumference? Now, in answering number 3, this came from our previous notes. Name a segment that is a radius. How long is it? We're using this image to answer A and B. So I'm only going to answer A. You're going to have to figure out what B. Well, you need to know what is a radius. Remember, the radius is usually from the center of the circle to the end of the circle. And either way, the distance between the center and the outer edge is always the same number. So I need to find a segment that is a radius. Now, for this problem, excuse me, there are 5 different answers. Now, A is considered a center. So I'm going to list just 2 of them. But remember, it only told you to name a segment, meaning we're only going to name one segment. I'm just going to name 2. So you have an example, and then you can pick one that should work. First example I can use is EA. Okay? Now, you need to understand something. From C all the way to D, from C all the way to D, the diameter is 15 centimeters. But you should know something about that. The radius is half of the diameter. So, in order to find the radius, you have to take the diameter and divide by 2. So I need to take 15, divide that by 2. And that should be the radius all the way around. Okay. So another segment that could work, I could have used a D or DA, however you want to say it. Either way, the measurement should still be 7.5. Okay. So pick another value that is the radius to answer A. B only has one diameter, length. And the answer is literally in the picture, the only number given. You just have to label what is your diameter. If you need to pause the video, please do so before I go on to the next page. Excuse me. So the next page I had you guys work on was page 41, question number 3. Question number 3 is an interesting one because a half circle is joined, here's your half circle, is joined by an equilateral triangle with side lengths of 12 units. What is the perimeter of the resulting shape? So you need to remember what's perimeter. Perimeter is the distance around a shape. So that means I need to find the perimeter from here to here, from here to here, and then this half circle all the way around. Now, an equilateral triangle means a triangle with 3 equal sides. Meaning, they gave me the side length, this was going to be 12 units. What that means is this is also 12 units, and then that means this is also 12 units. Okay? So let's look at this from 2 different standpoints. We're going to find the perimeter of the triangle first. Well, perimeter of a triangle is to add all the sides, but you got to understand, we would have added all 3 of the sides if this half circle was not joined together. That means you're only going to find a perimeter for the 2 outside parts of the triangle. So you're going to do 12 plus 12. Well, 12 plus 12 gives you 24 units. Okay. But I still need to find the perimeter of the other shape in the shape of a half circle. Now, instead of perimeter, we have a fancy word we have to use. Circumference. The circumference formula is pi times d. Good news is, from here all the way to down here, this distance is 12 units. Well, wait a minute. This is also known as the diameter of this semicircle. So, we're going to take pi and multiply by your diameter, which is 12. And I'm going to round to 2 decimal places for this one. So, 12 times 3.14 is 37.68. But wait, hold on. This is the circumference for an entire circle. I only got half. So, of course, I needed to cut this in half. So, 37.68 divided by 2 should give me half of this semicircle. Should be 18.84 units. Now, I need the resulting shape. Well, the resulting shape looks like an ice cream cone. So, I'm going to take this value and add it up. 24 plus 18.84 should give you a result of 42.84 units. So you have to look at this from 2 different parts. Okay? Leave this, if you have to pause it to show the work, please do so. This is me showing work. Okay. The next page is page 49. All right. This one we were talking about rotations. Now, we're only going to answer 1 and 2 and number 4 on this page. But I want you to understand something. 1 rotation. Now, rotation means a spin all around a circular object. Okay? 1 rotation is the same as finding their circumference. Okay? 1 rotation is the same as finding the circumference. And this is going to be used throughout these pictures, these problems. So let's look at number one. The diameter of a bike wheel is 27 inches. If the wheel makes 15 complete rotations, how far does the bike travel? That means this wheel needs to make 15 different spins. Meaning, you need to take the number of the rotations and multiply by your circumference. Well, we need to find the circumference first. Well, circumference formula is C equals pi times D, where D is the diameter. And what do you know? The diameter is 27 inches. So I'm going to take pi, which is 3.14, times 27. So pi times 27 gives you 84.78 inches. But that only represents one rotation. I need 15. So I got to take this answer now and multiply by 15. So 84.78 times 15 spins gives me a total distance of 1,271.7 inches. Okay, I'm going to give you another few seconds before I move on. Now, number two is similar, so I would not work number two, but I will work number four since we got fractions. I know some of us are iffy on it. Circle A has circumference 2 2/3 meters. Circle B has a diameter that is 1.5 times as long as circle A's diameter. So you need to find the circumference of circle B. Well, first off, you already know the circumference of circle A is 2 2/3 meters. What I don't have is circumference B. That's what we need to find. Well, in order to do that, you need to know the diameter of circle B and compare it to the diameter of circle A. Well, circle B has a diameter. It is 1.5 times as long as circle A's diameter. Well, I won't know how much longer it is until I find the diameter of circle A. Now, to find the diameter of circle A, you need to take the circumference and divide by pi. Now, the reason why I'm still leaving this as a fraction, 2/3 is a repeated decimal. It is 0.666. So I'm going to be careful how to write it on decimals. Write this as either an improper, or you can leave it like this as a mixed number. If you want to change this to an improper, remember, you have to multiply 3 times 2 and add 2. So 3 times 2 is 6. 6 plus 2 is 8. So I'm going to use 8 over 3 divided by pi, which is 3.14. So on a calculator, I got to be careful how I type it. 8 divided by 8/3, divided by pi gives me a decimal, and I'm going to put 2 decimals. Yeah, let's do 2 decimals. It was 0.849. We're going to do 0.85. Now, because this diameter represents circle A, so I know circle A's diameter, 0.85. But diameter B is supposed to be much longer than that. So I'm going to take my 0.85 and I'm going to multiply by 1.5. And why? Because the word times tells me I'm multiplying. So I'm going to take 0.85 times 1.5. Now, if you write 1.5 as a decimal, that's the same as 1.5. So I'm going to do 1.5 times 0.85. Oops. And I know if you're running out of space, you can use the page on page 48 next to it. But 0.85 times 1.5 gives me about 1.275. So let's do 1.28 meters. That means this one represents the diameter for circle B. I found the diameter for circle B, but the question is asking for the circumference of circle B. So now you need to use your formula. C equals pi D. Well, D is 1.28. So I'm going to do 1.28 times pi. And you should get at least 4.019. We're going to do 4.02 meters. And that's how you'd answer number 4. This one was a multi-step problem. So you have to go backwards to move forward for this one. Pause it here before I move on to the next page. Next page is page 63. Questions 5 and 6. We already did number 4 with our bell ringer. Okay. Now, and number 6, I've already done. I would not do number 6 because it was the same as doing number 4 on page 49. Same scenario. If you want to draw it out, you can. You have to go backwards to move forwards. Okay? So I would not do number 6, but I will do number 5. This looks like the same image as the previous pages anyway. So here's what we're going to do. Find the circumference of this circle. All right. Circumference formula. C equals pi times D. D is the diameter. And great news. Here's your diameter. The diameter is 15. So I'm going to do 15 times pi. You should have gotten 47.1 centimeters. That is it. You can pause this here before I turn it to the next page. The final page at that. All right. Page 71, number 5. Number 5 has A, B, and C parts. Okay, because I'm only going to do one of them. Here are the diameters of 4 coins. Diameter of a penny, 1.9. Nickel, 2.1. Dime, 1.8. Quarter, 2.4. Okay. A coin rolls a distance of 33 centimeters in 5 rotations. There's that word again. Which coin is it? Now, this is one of those you're going to have to play with the work. You're going to have to play with it. Okay? So I'm going to show work down here. Let me draw a line. Because number 1A, we're going to need some work. Because we're going to have to test all 4 coins. So, we know the distance is 33 centimeters in 5 rotations. But I want to know the distance for 1 rotation. Because remember, in the previous part, 1 rotation equals your circumference. And then once I find the circumference for that piece, then I can move on and find the diameter. So, let's figure out what the circumference would be. So first things first, take the total distance and divide by the number of rotations. Because this gives me 33 in 5 rotations. I want to know how many in 1. So, 33 divided by 5 should give you 6.6 centimeters, meaning this piece is your circumference. Now, I need to go back and use the circumference formula on all 4 of these coins, or maybe until we get to it, to see if we get 6.6. So let's start with the penny. Penny. If the diameter is 1.9, I'm going to do pi times 1.9. Pi times 1.9. You get about 5.966. Let's do 5.97. All right. Let's do the nickel. Well, the nickel is diameter of a 2.1. So I'm going to do 2.1 times pi and get the circumference. I get about 6.594. So let's do 6.59 centimeters. Okay. Let's look at the dime. The diameter for a dime is 1.8. So I'm going to do 1.8 times pi. You get about 5.652. So let's do 5.65. And then last but not least, the quarter. If the diameter of a quarter is 2.4, you have to do pi times 2.4. You should get 7.536, but let's do 7.54. Now, you need to compare which one got us really close, or if I was to round these to 1 decimal. Let's round them all to 1 decimal to see if I can get 6.6. If I round this to 1 decimal, you get 6. If I round this decimal, you get 6.6. If you round this decimal, you get 5.7. And if you round this decimal, you get 7.5. Now remember, you have to get the exact circumference that we got. Which one looks like 6.6? Uh-oh, right here. Right here. So the coin is the nickel. So, which coin is it? It is the nickel. That is how you work 5A. 5B, you need to find the circumference for the quarter and multiply by 8, because you got 8 rotations. For letter C, a dime rolls 41.8 centimeters. You need to find the number of rotations now. So, you need to find the circumference of the dime and divide by the distance. So you're going to do distance divided by your circumference for the dime. Circumference for a dime. Okay? To get the number of rotations. Now, whole numbers for this one. If I'm talking about rotations, give me a whole number. Round to the nearest whole number. Okay. For the other problems that I did not work, I need you to work those on your own and turn this in when you can. Take care, guys.